Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dare to Share with Mistie Layne. Tonight is going to be an extra special episode. I'm so excited to have you here because I know the value that you're going to be getting tonight from my mentor, my friend, my voice of reason, Jason Cisneros. I'm just thrilled because I know the value, like I said, he's going to be bringing you. We're going to take care of a few things first. Let's see who we've got with us. Hi, Sherry McQueen. Nice to have you here. Hi, Christopher Kaysen. We love you. We love you. Wendy Meyer, hi, it's nice to see you. Sam, it's nice to see you. Hello, everyone. Please go ahead and remember to share this out with all your family and friends. You never know who just might need to hear something that Jason has to say tonight that could help change their lives. Also, I want to invite you to go to my Facebook page and join the movement, #BeThatOne. I encourage others to step up and be that one and share their raw, authentic truth with transparency so that we can educate each other with our stories. And through education, my hope is that we can judge less and mentor more. I'm going to go ahead and play a quick little sponsorship break. Go ahead and acknowledge that this episode is sponsored by Simple Changes and Simple Smile Health. And we ask that you support them because that is how this show is getting and this platform is getting supported. So without further ado, here is our sponsors. Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully. LifeSmile Health provides simple solutions to whole body health. Would you like to sleep like a baby and wake up feeling rested? Transdermal Human Growth Hormone Gel can give you that sleep and also maximize the benefits of physical exercise. The gel will help you burn through your midday slump with energy and focus, and it offers 25 other body improvements as well. While it improves your bone health and muscular growth, your body composition, and it increases your cellular repair and metabolism. New Your Life offers other products such as Fortress, which contains researched botanicals, probiotics, and vitamins formulated to promote a healthy immune system. Products are safe, FDA registered, and effective. Contact Diane Chasik to learn more about other products that can help you along the way. Diane Chasik, LifeSmileHealth.com. LifeSmile. Today's show is sponsored. LifeSmile Health provides simple solutions. What happened there? Okay, I'm having technical difficulties here. I can't get it to come down for some reason. LifeSmile. Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know what I did. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Again, Jason Cisneros, my mentor, my friend. I am bringing him on for you guys to meet. I'm excited to share him with you. And here he is, the Bald Avenger himself.
What's up, lady?
Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
Man, this is kind of a role reversal here, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. I love that you got your own show. Those freaking ads are awesome. Good
Thank
stuff.
You. I did them all by myself.
Yeah, they were great.
Come a long way because I'm not the tech person at all.
Yeah, your voiceover is awesome. We might have to hire you for some of our stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. There's a little bit of a delay. I see your mouth moving before I hear you. So if I cut you off, I'm sorry for that. But there is something going on there with the voice.
No problem. I'm good. I think my microphone's working, but go.
Yeah.
Testing,
I don't know. It might just be
1, 2.
Might just be some lag time. I don't know. But we're going to get through it. No big deal. All right. Let's see who we've got on here. We've got a new viewer from London that I just met, Farhana Manzoor. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy for you to meet Jason. He's a wonderful person. I can't. And then Patty Mays is here, Christopher Kaysen, Wendy Meyer, you know, a lot of the misfit people here, Sherry McQueen.
Looks like she's frozen. Well, I guess we're here. I'm gonna go ahead and do the show because I think everybody else can see me here. So how you doing, Jason? I'm doing just fine. That's great to see you. Can you guys still see me? I'm just looks like it's the Jason Cisneros show on the Mistie Layne show. Hopefully she can join us back. We're having some technical difficulties on the show, but I am a professional. So I'm just going to go ahead and
And somebody doesn't want us talking, I guess, because I'm hardwired in and it still went out. So I'm not sure what that was about, but that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just doing the show because, you know, that's what professionals do. They just step in. I didn't know if I was frozen though, but evidently not.
Cool.
Good. So anyway, we're back. Back to you. Yeah.
I was just going to tell everyone real quick how I came to know the Jason Cisneros. I started following Dr. Duck Vong, Dr. V. Went to one of his conventions out in Albuquerque, Mexico, and he started talking about philanthropy work, feed a billion, and up pops your name on the whiteboard. So, of course, I have to go do my due diligence, as you've taught me, you know, now, and go back and start looking you up and see who you are. And started watching your lives, listening to you, and just fell in love with everything you were doing. Your heart, your authenticity. And I knew right away you were someone I could look up to, that I could trust. I felt comfortable. So I reached out to you. I started following you. And we just kind of went from there and became friends. And you started mentoring me. And you've been there early on. The very first thing that ever happened to me, I got burned over my book deal with a guy and didn't know what to do. And you know, said, call me. I called you and you immediately were right there. You had my back 100%. And I knew I was in the right place with you and your tribe. And I thank you for that. So 2 years later, here we are. That's how I got to know you. So tell everyone about.
I just want everybody to know that you were, I mean, again, Misfit Nation is kind of, you know, what we all call ourselves, right? Part of the Misfit Nation. And one of the things that there's simple rules, right? Which is that you have to admit kind of where your issue is, where you participated in it, make it right with those people that you harmed, and then forgive yourself, and then take that message out and serve the world, right? That's kind of our thing, right? Our milieu. And so at the end of the day, you know, I watched you reached out. And, you know, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm one of those teachers that gives everybody an A, and it's up to them to lose it. Yeah. And, you know, and I watched you go through your struggles, and you reached out for help when you needed it. And at the end of the day, what Mistie Layne stands for is for service and for radical transparency. And you did that with your own life first. Therefore, you can command, demand, and expect that out of the people that you coach and that you mentor. And I'm just proud as hell to have you as my friend. And you've grown into being family, you and your boy. And, you know, we've been around the country together, and I got to see you speak on your first stage and all. Like, it's like my little baby's growing up.
I know it. You're making me cry. Stop.
No, you're an amazing person, and I'm glad to be here. Happy to be on your show.
Thank you so much. I want to touch on that before we get into all the other good stuff. I just want to talk about transparency for a minute, because that's where my heart is with you the most. You know, I struggled, like you said, coming out with my story. Had a lot of shame and guilt over my past. I sat on that book for years because I didn't want people to know the ugliness about me, you know. And so when I started following you, not only did you teach me about transparency, you showed me what it meant through your own lives and your personal life and your own transparency. You showed me what that looked like. And it gave me the courage to step up and do the same. And when I did, it was the biggest weight off of my shoulders. And not only that, Jason, you taught me that the riches that we receive in the world is really from giving. And I didn't really understand that. I never knew about service like that. I volunteered for Boy Scouts and different things, but to truly serve from a place in your heart where you don't expect anything back, again, you showed me those things. And that's where my love is for you. And I will be with you forever because of that. And thank you for that.
Well, ditto. And I think it's important for your viewers to hear that message from you and to understand, when I decided that I was going to, because I've had I built businesses, had to come. What's up, Kat Dawn? Good to see her. Love her.
Yes,
it's here at a march that we've put together. We're doing a little protest in Salt Lake City coming up for kids of human trafficking. So that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of misfit nations going to be there and causing an uproar. But I think it's important for your viewers to. Hi, Diane. And it's good to see everybody, or for everybody to see that, when I decided to take this path, and what I mean by this path, everybody that's watching, you have a decision to make, right? You're going to keep walking the path that you're on, or you're going to bloom or blossom into that thing that God meant for you to become. And so the first step of that, for a lot of us that are misfits, right? A lot of us, we've screwed up. Like, we've done some terrible things, some of them on purpose, some of them not on purpose. But at the end of the day, we're not perfect human beings. And the world tells us that unless one of two things, you're either perfect, and what that means is you're really good at hiding your bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Or you have enough money to cover up your bullshit, and you appear to the world as perfect. And as I began this journey, I had to make a decision of whether, because I was running businesses, I was buying businesses, I was doing just fine. And, figured out that especially in trafficking, when I started putting myself out there, to promote domestic violence, and not to promote it, but to promote fighting against it, the trafficking of children. People were like, that doesn't happen. That's not going on. And it took a decision, and I had to have this conversation with my mom. It was after I was interviewed by Forbes, and I had to have this conversation with her. I said, Mom, I don't know that I want to do this. Because what happened was I was interviewed by Forbes, and the writer came back and he said, look, we found some holes in your story about your adopted father going to prison when you were 17 for attempted murder of you and your mom. And I was like, why would somebody lie about that? Number one. And I go, your researchers suck. I called my mom and I said, look, I need the documentation from the court case so I can get it over to Forbes, blah, 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 blah. And I also, when we got to the end of that conversation, I go, I don't know that I want to go on this journey. I don't need to. I've made my money. I'm doing well. There's no reason for me to put my name out there. Nobody was talking, not nobody, but very few people were actually putting their face out there talking about rescuing these little girls and these little boys that were being abducted and utilized in the sex trade. What's up, Robert? Love that guy. And Mary Sterling, all of Christopher, all of you people. I love you. I love you. I love you. And so anyway, and my mom told me two things. And she knows that I don't ask her advice, and she doesn't give it very often. But she goes, Jason, the life that you've lived has perfectly prepared you to be able to do this work. And I asked her what she meant. And she said, well, you've done well financially. People can't take that away from you. And B, you went through this abuse when you were a kid, and you know what it's like to stand in front of me and take those beatings, and stand in and take the beatings yourself. And it was then I just said, screw it. I'm going to go all in. And the first thing that I did, besides write a book, I wrote a book and I told all of the stories that anybody could think about. And then I did a podcast, right? My first podcast, The Bald Avenger Show. Those of you that ever want to know anything about me, You can find everything bad about me. I tell on myself. I call it the 8 Mile, right? I 8 miled my ass to the rest of the world in that first episode. And I said, cool, now the world knows everything. You know, now they can't hold anything over my head. I've done the best I can to make right my wrongs, and now I'm going to go into full service mode. And I had to go through this process that you went through, which is then you got to forgive yourself, right? Yeah. Which is a big giant piece of this is you got to be okay with who you are as a human being and understand that those failures were preparing you for service. Right? Absolutely. They weren't preparing you for failure. They weren't preparing you for alcohol abuse or drug abuse or eating too much food or sexual addictions or just fading back and diving into our cave and hiding from the rest of the world. They made us beasts, right? Beasts.
Absolutely.
And they gave us strength that nobody else, that very few other people have. And what the world tells us is when we fail, okay, cool, now go away. Right? Go away and put yourself and just exist until you die. That's what the world tells us. And the greatest servants of all time, if you go back through the history books, are people who screwed up and then made it right and then went on to serve at a super high level, right? And so it's important that people that are watching know that your show and this message and this conversation that we're having is for everybody to put their shit out there. Right? Because now you number one, most of the time people aren't thinking about us in the first place. Why? Yeah. Because we're no threat. We're no threat to what? We're no threat to their attention. We're no threat to their money. We're no threat to you ever busting out of your box because they know who Mistie Layne is. And I can control her based on her buttons and based on her habits and based on the things that triggers her. I can control her with all of that. Well, when Mistie Layne breaks out of that and now you're no longer controllable, you now become a threat to other people. Because now what's she going to do? Well, if Mistie Layne goes on and succeeds and has her own show and writes a book and does all this kind of stuff, it's going to make me feel bad about myself because I'm sitting back doing nothing except for pointing fingers at everybody else. And I get my satisfaction out of tearing other people down instead of the difficult work that leads to self-respect, right? Self-respect means that you go out and you do the work yourself. Right. And so that's what you have been a shining example of. Misfit Nation, Kat, everybody, Christopher, all of the people that are commenting on here tonight are people that have taken that journey and they've decided to take off those shackles that hold us back, which is the opinion of other people, right? So I wanted to set the stage a little bit because it's those of us in Misfit Nation take it for granted a little bit, right? Because we've been with each other. Barbara Beckley, I love you, and she put me on one of her shows during difficult times, and I showed up and I said what needed to be said from the perspective of love and caring and support. But at the end of the day, that the world is full of people that will not speak truth because they're afraid of being canceled, or they're afraid of being called a racist, or they're afraid of being called unintelligent, or mask haters, or hate, they love masks, or whatever the case may be. There's all kinds of stuff out there to separate us. And if you're in the right column on each one, then you're good with that column. But if you step over, man, you are an enemy. And I'm not the enemy of anyone unless they're causing suffering in the world of somebody else that's vulnerable. Now you got a fucking enemy, right? And at that point in time, you still have a choice. So I didn't want to take up the beginning of the show with that, but it's important.
I'm like, whoa, there's so much. It's like, whoa.
But it's important that people know where your show's coming from and where you're coming from, because you've done so much work that you take for granted the journey that you've been on, even since I've met you. You've come so far and you're pushing forward. All you see is what is out in front of you. And I just wanted you to take 5-10 seconds to acknowledge where you've come from and how proud of you I am for the work that you've done, because it's not easy.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. You're a huge part of all of it. And I thank you so much. And that's the whole, the whole premise for this show and why I named it Dare to Share, because there's so many of us out there that we don't even know we're not being honest with ourselves. We can't even get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say to ourselves our wrongs, or even give ourselves a pat on the back and say, it's okay that you screwed up, And so this show is to encourage people to dare to share those things and just get it off your chest, because I guarantee there's like we've all said, there's so many other people out there. It doesn't matter the severity of what you've been through. Somebody else needs to hear it because they're going through it too.
Most of the time, the stuff that we're hiding is behind what we're blaming other people for. And that's a hard thing. You blame somebody, and me. I mean, we have rape victims, we have ex-prisoners, we have we have all the spectrum of people that have made every single mistake that you can possibly make. And a lot of times what I hear the most of is, I was blaming somebody else and they still owned my power while I was blaming them. Right. And so there's a process you go through. You got to forgive those other people that may have harmed you. Right. Yeah. And like my adopted father, like I had to get to a place where I, at the end of the day, I had to forgive him. And not only did I forgive him, I took it a step further and I became grateful for him, because he built this strong ability to be able to stand in front, right? Like it was a metaphor when I was younger that I would stand in front of my mom and take those beatings. But now I stand in front of other people. I mean, Kat nicknamed me the shield for the women of A New Dawn, right? And that's how I feel. I feel like I've got that strength financially, mentally, spiritually, soul, all of those things. I've been given that strength because of what I went through, and decided to transform my hatred and my blame of my adopted father to strength and gratitude for what he actually built in me, which was a heart of service. I didn't want to be anything like him. Thank God I had that role model in my life to say, I don't want to be anything. I've never raised a hand to a woman in my life, right? I've had my ex-wife on the show.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. And one of the things that always cracks me up, and I hear back from about the show that I had her on, was she's like, well, if any woman deserved to be hit, it was me. She said that, right? And she was joking, of course, but at the end of the day, it wasn't easy being with her, right? But at the end of the day, it built that character in me not to be like him. Before I then had my own mentors, I was able to read books. I was able to do all the things to be able to figure out that the person that is the most, the biggest barrier to our success is always looking back at us in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Ourselves. Exactly right. I want to slow down here because we need to go all the way back here, because I don't know. I know there's many people in here that know you and know all about you, but there's also new people that are new to the tribe and new to the show that don't know who you are. And the gist of everything you just said, I think, is kind of summed up. I did a show this morning with Vicky Omofalaji in Australia, and we talked about grief. And she said something that I love. She said, don't waste your pain. Don't waste it. And it's kind of like the gist of what I think Misfit Nations are. I mean, what we were about. We're about recognizing that we've done wrong, but using it to help others, right? And we talked about the misfit, the name Misfit. And I know there's a lot going back and forth with the name, and does it mean you're broken? What does it mean? But I look at it as just like in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you've got the misfit, on the Misfit Island or whatever. Mm-hmm. But what are those misfits doing? They're the service. They're the ones that are making all the toys. They're the ones that are giving back, right? So I think that's the perfect name for who we are and what we stand for as a tribe. I love it. But we're going to get back and talk about Jason, because this is Dare to Share. And I really want people to know you. I want people to understand, because we all see your success today. You have your podcast, your show, all your multiple businesses that you've done. And I know you've had ups and downs, and you've been transparent with all of that. But I want to go back before that, Jason. I want to talk about just Jason Cisneros before you became the Jason Cisneros, okay?
My least favorite subject to talk about, by the way.
Yeah, of course it is. But you shared something with me one time, well, with an audience that I was in one time about your struggles, and your stepdad, was abusive towards you, and you grew up in, gangs, and you just didn't have the best of lives. And you shared something to me about a night that he drove you to the lake. Um, just kind of like within about 3 minutes, if you can rein it in a little bit, try to talk a little bit about that night and what it meant to you surviving that night.
I will. And I want everybody listening or watching this live or on replay, I want you guys to, it's my story, but it's also your story, right? You just have to think about all of those challenges that you've been through. And mine in particular, this was towards the end of, before he went to prison. And, there was a lot leading up to it that I'm going to have to cut out of the story. But at the end of the day, this was after 17 years. I was adopted at 6, so it would have been about 11 years. And it was when I was about to turn 17, and he had just completely lost it at this point. And he broke into the house, held me and my mom at gunpoint. We left. They put us in a safe house. He set the house to explode. And just, I mean, it was a huge thing. Like, all the windows had flints on them. He had cut the gas pipes and, kept telling me, go back up and get my stuff out and blah, blah, blah. Cause I got booted when I was 16 or earlier, between 15 and 16 years old, and kept telling me to go back up to the house. And so that ultimately, I went on a 2-week drunk. My mom was doing something for a couple of weeks. We didn't go back to the house. We were in this safe house that the police put us in when they knew he was looking for us. And he somehow figured out where that safe house was. And he showed up at the door one night, and I just happened to open the door, and there he was. And, and he had a gun, and he said, look, if you come with me, nothing will happen to anybody else inside. But if you don't, I'm just going to start shooting. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go. And we got in the car and we drove from there out. If anybody knows Rifle, it's a place called Rifle Gap. And we drove out there, and he was ranting and raving and screaming and, and telling me how I had ruined his life by calling the police and, and da, 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 da. And, and I knew what was about to happen. I knew it was about to happen. I knew, because I won't go into that part of the story, but I knew what was about to happen. He was going to take me out to the lake, put some weights on my feet, pop me in the back of the head, and people would find me, months later, weeks later, or whatever. And so I had to kind of make a peace with what was about to happen. And again, I made it right in my head that I had just saved my mom and my little brother. And, and I was like, well, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And, hopefully they catch him.
Were you prepared to die that night for your mom, Jason?
I was prepared to die for a lot of years before that, because of all the stuff that I'd seen, but I had made an absolute peace with the fact that was my last day on earth, and just an absolute peace. And so anyways, we got out to the lake, and he's yelling and screaming, and, and finally, like, there's a lot to the story that I don't tell publicly, but at the end of the day, he said, okay, get out of the car. And I knew it was coming, right? I knew it was coming. And so I got out of the car and started to walk towards the lake. I wasn't trying to run. I wasn't like, it was this weird place of just acceptance going, this is it. Like, this is what my life has come to. And based on what I'd been doing and all that other kind of stuff, it was kind of the perfect ending. It was either that or a blaze of glory with the cops, one of the two. Mm-hmm. And so I started walking towards the lake, and all of a sudden I heard the car take off. And the first thought that was in my head was, he's going back for my mom. Like, he separated me from her to go get her. And I just took off on a dead run. I ran the entire way, and I don't remember the exact miles, but it was a long ways. And I didn't stop. I didn't falter. I just ran the entire way till I got back to that safe house. And when I got there, she was fine. Come to find out that while he was driving off and driving crazy, the police had pulled him over, found out it was him, saw the weapon, all that kind of stuff. And he went to jail. And he never got out after that until the trial went down. I had to testify against him. It was a big thing up and down, in my community at the time. And then finally, we had a good judge. We had an amazing police chief, an amazing DA that back then people were getting off for this kind of stuff, pretty easily. And they put him away for a good 18 years. And then he got out and died pretty shortly after that. So it was a turning point in my life, and always knowing, like, regardless, if anybody's watching this, that you have some sort of protection around you. Call it God, call it the universe, call it Allah, call it whatever it is I don't really care what you call it, but it's bigger than us. And if we've been saved over and over again through the trials of our life, it means that we're here for a reason. And ultimately it's our choice between whether we want to be a warning or whether we want to be an example. And so a lot of times we tend to end up being warnings because we get bitter instead of getting better. And I just chose along the way, not instantaneously, by the way. As soon as I was under his kind of control, I was doing what I knew. I was dealing drugs. I knew how to fight because I'd been fighting a full-grown man since I was 6 years old. So I was a collector. All that crap, and it took me getting stabbed in the chest the same week that my son was born. And when I got stabbed in the chest, when I would get beat up when I was younger, my grandma always made sure I had a Bible, and I always read it. I wasn't particularly religious, not particularly religious now, which is why I'm really upset you don't have all your crosses behind you.
I have one for you. Look.
Good. Yay. Okay. Usually you have an entire wall.
I had one handy because I knew you were going
to sweat every time I watch you or see that picture. I start to sweat from guilt. I'm just kidding. So,
you used to call it the wall of conviction.
The wall of conviction, baby. So at the end of the day, it was a choice. My grandma made sure that I had a Bible. And when the knife went in my chest, I think you've seen it a couple of times, but the scar that I still have on my chest, as soon as the knife went in, there was a Bible verse that popped into my head, and it was, "The sins of the father are born unto the children." And I at the time I was just like, okay, well, if I survive this, I'm done. Like, I'm done, because I got a brand new baby son, and I'll be damned if he's going to live this life. I didn't know about breaking cycles. All I knew was that I needed to make better choices and to start to become a different man, so that my son wouldn't have to grow up with this death sentence called the lifestyle, the gangs, the drugs, the alcohol, the abuse, all that stuff. I just knew I wanted it to be different. And I think that a lot of people watching have had that feeling and that sensation at different points in their life. And what happens the moment that you make that decision is shit gets worse, right? Shit gets worse. And that's why people go, well, screw it, I'm going to go back. I could have easily gone back and go, selling drugs is a lot easier than this. Collecting money is a lot easier than, and my first job was $6 an hour peeling bark off of a log for 8 hours a day, for log cabins, right?
Oh,
it was,
what do you need that for?
Now they have all kinds of fancy machinery. Back then they called it Jason machinery. It was just, but my shoulders got huge. I got to be a big guy. But at the end of the day, I've said that way too many times. What happened is that things got worse. And then I got married and I got an $8 an hour job. And then I decided that I wanted to learn a trade. And so I did that. And I just started kind of creeping up the ladder by doing the right things. And, thank God the right people were put in my life at exactly the right times to be able to help that path along the way, which is why I'm so adamant about helping everybody that I possibly can. Because it was that grace was showed to me.
We're going to get into all the good stuff you do, because you're amazing. You're a philanthropist. You give, you fight for people. And like you said, you've been a shield since way back. You were shielding for your mom at a very early age. So I think the name Kat picked for you is very appropriate. I'm going to ask everyone to go ahead and share this out. This is too good to hold to yourself. You need to get this wisdom and knowledge out to others. Don't waste our pain. I love that Vicky said this morning. But I want to go ahead and take a break real quick and recognize our sponsors, because they're the ones that are making this platform happen, and we need to support them as well. But Jason, I want you to be thinking before I go to this break about, oh my goodness, it was a horrible storm. Wind just knocked the plants off my patio. The storm just came out of nowhere.
You're leaving me hanging. You want me to think about what? What?
Look,
take them out.
So I want you to be thinking about, Jason, because the name of the show is Dare to Share, and it's for us that have been through things to encourage others to show them that we can overcome, to show them that they can have the courage to come out and speak things, that taboo things or secret things or things that you might be ashamed to share. So I'm going to just ask you to think about a very vulnerable, one brief time in your life, a very dark time in your life that you're daring and willing to share with us today. And as soon as we get back from the sponsor break, I want you to share that. And then we're going to turn the beat and talk about all the wonderful things you do and how you've turned your life around and how successful you are and what a great leader you are. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you guys go ahead and share this out for me and pay attention to these sponsors. Appreciate your time. And here they are. Oh, and no, they're not, because I deleted them.
You could do an impromptu.
When the thing froze up earlier, I just started deleting crap because I wanted it off the screen because I was trying to get to you. And so, yeah. Of all the times I want my show to run perfect and smooth with you here, it's,
it is perfect. It is happening exactly the way that it should.
Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Well, my sponsors, Wanda Reynolds with Simple Changes and Diane Chasik with Life Smile Health. I thank them so much for sponsoring the show and supporting the show, and ask that you check them both out. Lifestylehealth.com, or you can go to Wanda Reynolds on the Facebook page. All right. So, Jason, tell us about.
That was an amazing break, and those sponsors are amazing, and you should all go buy stuff from them. Yes.
Yes, do it. And if you're interested in being a sponsor, get in touch with me because it's amazing. Okay, Jason. So tell us quickly something vulnerable that maybe other than the night at the lake, a pivotal time in your life or a dark moment that, something that kept you up at night, some nights or whatever, that you're willing to share with us just to show people that we can do this.
Well, I'll tell you, again, one of the things that we fight against these days is suicide, right? And letting people know that they're valued and that they're not done and that people care. And, and I had an experience very similar to that where I'd built my life up. I hadn't dealt with any of my life before. I hadn't dealt with any of that stuff. And, I lost my business. I went bankrupt 3 times in a row. And it was after the third bankruptcy that, and everybody can identify with this, is that you try and you try and you try and you try. And you're really like, you're building and building and building, but you haven't dealt with that thing, right? You haven't dealt with the stuff. And so you build it on sand instead of the bedrock of truth and transparency. And so I did that. I built 3 businesses and hadn't dealt with my stuff, and it kept falling down. I got a divorce. I was the thing that I love the most in my life is my kids, and not waking up with them every day was soul crushing, And as bad as my marriage was, at the time, Leona would tell you, I wasn't going to go anywhere. Like, this thing was going to last. It was till death till we part. And, she decided that, well, let's not do the death part and let's just part. So, which was fine, but I never would have left. I never would have left that relationship. And so, after the third time, when I had gone bankrupt, I got to a place where a lot of us get to, which is, I'm not going to succeed at anything. I'm not going to be the person who is ever going to get over that hump. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. I was bankrupt. I couldn't borrow money. There was nothing that I had in my capacity to be able to move on. And so I packed up and I left, and I went to California, ended up just piece by piece selling everything. And it was on the last time when they had given me an eviction notice, they'd taken all my stuff. I'd sold all the stuff that I could, and I had one possession left, and it was my pistol. And I went out to a cliff that night and decided that I was going to end it all. And while I was sitting, I was even thinking about it at the time with my kids. I was like, well, I'm going to do it on this cliff. I'll fall off the cliff, and nobody will find my body forever, and they just won't have to worry about this stuff. So, but it was while I was sitting there and contemplating this that I had the whisper in my ear, right? And regardless of whether you hear it or not, you've always got whispers from God, from the universe, whatever it is that you believe, a non-judgmental place. But there's always that whisper in your ear, you're not done, not yet. And I just didn't do it. And the next day I kept going. I went, and eventually that led into me, getting a job with Tony Robbins. But it was a dark moment, and I think that we've all faced it. Everybody that is watching the show, we've all had those moments where we just want to give up. And the message, if there's anything that I could say, is that there's so much life on the other side of your mistakes, and so much life on the other side of your pain, that it would be a shame against humanity for you to end, or you to stop, or for you to quit, or whatever it is, that you don't give up. Like, there's never a situation until it's taken out of our hands, y'all. There's no way that you should quit or give up. And I'm talking to everybody out there. And again, a lot of people, some people don't get to the place where they're contemplating suicide. They give up in other ways. They give up by starting to drink, or they give up by being, just kind of quitting in the relationship that they're in, or they give up by eating the wrong kinds of foods, and just start digging their own grave with their teeth, or whatever it is. When you give up, your spirit disappears, and that will to fight is something that dissipates in us. But it's always there. It's like that little spark, right? It's like that little spark inside of us that completely, it exists in you that's watching this. It exists in every person that you talk to. And whether that thing is just like a tiny little ember, or it's burning sort of light, or it looks like it's being rained on, that spirit, like when you light the human soul on fire, you change the world. And so that is what I want everybody to hear, is that responsibility for us to stoke that fire comes from ourselves. It comes from inside of us. It comes from us going, you know what? You think that this shit's bad? Bring it on. I can take much more. I can stoke this thing with fire. Just put more fire, put it on, because we connect. And this is what I want everybody to hear. And then I'll go back to you, but you connect why you were born and what your outcome is based on who and what group of human beings you are meant to serve, right? That's what lights that thing on fire. It's never going to be the house that you have. It's never going to be the car, never going to be the right amount or the right type of people living in the right area code. It's the wearing the right clothes, having the perfect shape in your body, bikini body. It's never going to be any of that shit. It's never going to be any of that. It's going to be all of the pain that you've experienced and balling that up into, oh, this is why I was born. This is why I went through the things that I went through, is so that I can take these hurts and these pains and these mistakes and this death and this sickness and all these things and ball it up and take it and use it to serve the world. That's what lights you up. When you light that fire, the fire of service, the fire of giving back, the fire of fighting for someone else, when you light that fucking fire, nobody can put it out. Nobody has control over you anymore, and you're not afraid of anything, because that is the lit by God. Though that's the thing that you went through. All of that stuff was, that fire was lit by God, and it becomes a roaring inferno. And then everything that you do in service gets resourced. You always have the right amount of money. You always have the right people in your life. You always have the amount of food that you need. You always have that, like birds in the trees, God said to us, right? Like birds in the trees, they never have to wonder or worry or about the fact that they're going to eat that day. We are God's children, right? We are God's children. Who would be more anointed or more powerful than us, than God's children? We are of the Father, right? And so if you know that and you realize that, that fire can burn out of control, because it's burning to burn down pain. It's burning to burn down doubt and fear and scarcity and suffering in the world. That's what that fire is meant to do inside of us, is to burn down that shit that darkness and the other side would bring to us.
Look, I'm just going to have to be transparent here. I didn't catch hardly any of that. Okay. I don't know if y'all been, I came back on and I'm hearing you're burning shit down, and I God only knows what you've been doing on the show. I'm not responsible, you guys. So, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's because of the storm, but I have been off and on this whole time since I asked you about that dark moment. I don't know what the hell you said on here.
Doesn't matter. Everybody heard it.
I came back and you're burning shit down is all I know.
Burning shit down. That's right. In a good way. In a good way.
So that's fine. So, yep. Hey, thanks for carrying the show, Jason.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Maybe we should change it instead of dare to share, dare to host for Mistie Layne.
Dare to host. Dare to host.
For Mistie Layne. Yeah.
Got to be a professional, baby. Always be ready.
Scott says it's awesome as always, Jason. Yeah, I trust Jason. I know it was great, whatever he said to you. But I do want to take some time here at the end to talk about all the wonderful things that you do. Like I said, I first met you with Dr. V, screaming accolades to you about the Feed a Billion project you're involved with. I know you fund and fight for human trafficking. You fund and fight for domestic abuse. You fund and fight. I know you're with Soap to Hope with January. She's going to be on the show coming up in a few weeks too. So many things that you do out there. And I said in the beginning of the show, Jason, that you taught me how we get rich by giving. And I want to show one quick example of something you told me early on in the first year that I knew you. Talking to me about something. Oh, I wanted to do online courses or retreats or something it was. And I was talking to you about it. And I said, but I'm not going to go charge everybody a fortune, because I'm that person. I'm so frugal. You know me, I had to sell my boar just to go see you. You know how that was. So, but I'm inside joke, guys. I'm so frugal about it that, I told myself my mentality was I'm not going to go charge $9.97 for something, because by God, I want everybody to be able to get what I have to say. And you said something so profound to me that my mind had just not opened up and expanded to that level yet. You said, but Mistie, you charge it because it's worth it, number one. Number two, you charge it to those that are willing to pay it so you can have money to give it to those that can't afford it. And I was like, whoa, what? Never thought of it that way. I never, first of all, I didn't know my own value. And, that's another process we have to go through and appreciate our own value. But you just taught me to expand and think out of the box and understand, to see things on such a bigger picture, that in order to give, we do have to have monetary, we have to be able to help them monetarily, but we can do service as well. But you made me understand that. And I thank you for that. And for those of you that are out there struggling too, think of that mindset that, charge your value, but then if you want to reach everyone, give it to them. Don't even worry about charging those that can't afford it. Just give it to them and put yourself in a position where you can. So I thank you for that. But let's talk about some of the current stuff you're doing and how we can help you as supporters and followers of you. Drop some websites or some things that you want us to do to help promote you and things that you believe in.
Well, the number one thing that I do, in service of information and growing people, I have a podcast called The Bald Avenger Show. And if you go to the Bald Avenger page on Facebook and follow and then share some of those videos, it's about getting that message out. And I'm not real good at, as I think I'm not real good about tooting my own horn because I don't like to. I don't advertise. I don't do marketing for my companies. I've always done everything that I do. It's out of service, right? Even built my companies, because if you do the right thing when you're building your companies, then people that are using your services are going to tell other people about your services. And that's how we've grown. I mean, that we built a 12-week course called Growth, Mastering Your Business G-Spot, which you've taken, and we've done a couple $1 million on that. And that just all of that stuff, what it is that's a course for anybody that doesn't understand business. And those of you that are running businesses, you know what I mean. That there's a fundamental understanding about business, and we get taught right now in this day and age that selling more covers a multitude of sins but guess what? Those sins are still there, and they're eventually going to topple your company. So understanding, I teach from a place of fundamentals because I never had a rich family. I always had to sing for my supper. And I built that out of, damn near 20 years of being in business myself with the actual application of that. So, anybody on here that's a G-Spot graduate, there's lots of them now that have been through the course. You should go and do that if you're a business owner. We also have Anton J, which is my company that exists so that we can help good people make more money so they can do more good. And that concept came from, I hate consultants, by the way, hate them. I despise a lot of the people that are out there selling this kind of content as well. Took my team 5 years to get me to write a book, 3 years to get me to do a course. And the consulting company that we work with is, that I own. We help companies that are already giving of some kind to some kind of charity. It doesn't have to be something I believe in, but my belief is that as you are in small things, you'll be in large things. And so we help good people. And that was the only reason why we started it. I opened it so that we could have stories for the book. I was going to close it down. It became a way for us, if we're going to end human trafficking, if we're going to end domestic violence, if we're going to end hunger, if we're going to end all that stuff, that's billions of dollars. And so I need everybody that has a good heart to know what I know about how to build businesses and how to make money. And that's why that consulting company exists. And you've been to some of the events where some of the companies that we're working for, they're writing checks to A New Dawn, and they're writing checks to CERT Ministries for the rescues. They're writing checks because they have it, right? Because they followed our strategies. But following the Bald Avenger page, joining our Misfit Nation family, there's no selling that goes on in there. Very little self-promotion. Misfit Nation page on Facebook is all about coming to serve or to get what you need, right? And then we all organically end up doing business with each other because we trust each other. We get to know each other. We know each other's services and whatnot. And so really that right now is something that's big on my heart. We're doing a march or a protest, as I say, because I just got sick and tired of seeing all the destruction and all the stuff over things that, and I won't get political or if you guys want to know what I think, just watch my show. But you don't hold back. Yeah, I don't hold back about what I think. And at the end of the day, I think that where we are as a nation is we've become so pampered that we forget that there's 20 to 30 million adult slaves in this world. There's 10 million children being traded in this world for either labor or sex. Children meaning under 18. And CERT Ministries does the rescues. And New Dawn does the extraction of the women of domestic violence. And Feed a Billion, we feed people. You've got all kinds of people that hang out in the Misfit Nation, and you'll get to know what sort of we stand for and what we're passionate about. But ultimately, you're going to be somebody that has a charity and is working to ease suffering. You only have two things to give: your time or your treasure. And my job is to make sure that if your mission in this world, your ability in this world is to have a company and to make money, please just listen to my shit, because at the end of the day, you're gonna make more money than you ever thought possible, and you'll be able to do more good. And we want that to go either to what you believe in or to one of the charities that we support. Chemo Buddies for Life. Yeah, Tamara Hunter is an amazing human being. So that's that. Again, I've done well. I've taken the hits. I've learned the lessons, and now I'm in more of that teaching mode, and I spend most of my time in the philanthropic side of the world now. And I say whatever the fuck I want, because you can't cancel me. Cancel culture doesn't scare me at all. The time that they could stop me is long past. And now I get to do and say and go and serve wherever I can and whatever I do, with zero fear of what people think about me, because I don't care.
Yeah. And I want to, plug again for Misfit Nation, because I do feel like I've found my people and I'm very comfortable there. And I want to say that one thing that we all inside the group encourage each other is to be ourselves, no matter what. In the beginning of the show, you talked about people that don't want to stand up and talk against the popular thing. And in our group, we talk about who we are, and it's okay that we're different. You and I have had some run-ins. I know a famous one you run in with is Sandy, politically, Longcar, Yep. But the thing is, at the end of the day, we love and respect each other's opinions. We listen with open minds. We don't judge. But we're proud of who we are. We're proud and respect our own opinions. We've done our own due diligence because you've taught us to do so. We've researched, and it's what makes the world go round, is to have different opinions and different outlooks. We can't all be the same. But I think the biggest message there is that we've taught each other to another side of the coin and respected each other, but we love each other regardless. We don't judge. And I love that about Misfit Nation. Love it.
Yeah, there's very few misfits that I haven't butted heads with at some point in time. And I love butting heads. I think at the end of the day, right now, what's happening is that we're living in a country that thinks that the right thing to do is to shut down dissent of what we believe. And that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's textbook Marxism. That's textbook totalitarianism. That's textbook. It's in the textbook. You could read The Naked Communist, right? It's in their textbooks on how to do this. When we have arguments, I'm battling with you because you're a brilliant woman. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't waste my time having an argument with you if I didn't want. I'm going to come at you as hard as I can with my belief and what I think, and you're going to come back at me as hard as you can, and I'm going to stop at some point and go, where is she right and where am I wrong, right? And then somewhere in between there is where a solution comes up that was better than you could have come up with on your own, and better than I could have come up with when I was on mine, right? On my own. And therefore we progress, right? When we say progressives out there right now, the progressives that we see are anything but, right? They're doing reverse. They're forgetting that history has played out. Communism, Marxism, totalitarianism, it's already played it out. We already know the end of that story. Mm-hmm. We don't know the end of ethical capitalism. Right now, we're in a big phase of selfish capitalism where I'm not against capitalism, and this is why you see me get in trouble with both Republican and Democrats all the time, is because $182 billion for Jeff Bezos. Come on, dude. Like, come on, bro. Like, and you're paying somebody $9 an hour, and you can't give them a raise, or there's ethical capitalism. By the looks of like Henry Ford, who built the middle class by paying his people more so they could afford the product, right? You have Costco, who has a cap on the CEO's wages, and everybody benefits when the company does better. Like their ethical capitalism is our way out of this, and rebuilding our middle class through small to mid-sized corporations and companies is going to be our way out of it. Stop doing business with the Amazons of the world. Start doing business with your local community. Start funding. Like even if you have to pay a little bit more money, that means people in the local community get paid more and they can afford more, right?
Right.
So stop using Amazon.
Yeah. I love everything you're saying. Unfortunately, that's going to have to be a whole nother show because I am on a platform where I've got limited time, and you and I are both big talkers. So,
Yes,
this
we
can go
are.
on and on. I want to point out, though, and say, I remember you telling me one time, it was during the Next Impactor competition. You told me, you're so manipulative. But I love that about you, you said. And I said, yeah, because I'm like you in that. And we go head to head on certain things. We're both very stubborn. But one thing I learned through that journey in the Next Impactor is when I was out there smoking crack, walking those streets, I was the most manipulative person to get $5 off of you so I could go get a hit. So I've learned to take that manipulation and use it for the good. So I haven't lost.
There's a different word for it, my darling, and that's called influence. Right?
Influence,
and
yeah.
If you believe in what you're doing in this world and it's of service and it's easing suffering, you damn well better learn the art of influence. And you are fearless, my love, fearless.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, Jason, I hate the time's already gone. I spent half the time, in the dark. So you and my guest, had a good show at least.
We have to go back and listen because some of that stuff was pretty good.
I want to know what the hell you were burning down. That's what I want to figure out. Shoot, I gotta stay protected from you, man. Burn my shit.
That's right.
All right. I love you, Jason.
I love you.
Man. You're such a great role model to all of us. I just thank you for all your service, all your time that you generously donate and give to so many, including me. But anyway, guys, hit Jason up. You all know where to find him on Facebook. Watch the Bald Avenger show. I've dropped a bunch of things in the comments for you all to find him, and all the charities and the nonprofits that he does support. I've dropped those things in the comments as well. And share this out. I ask you, share it out. Throw some hearts up for Jason. And I thank you for being here, Jason. I'm definitely going to have you back. All right. I
can't wait to come back. I just want to send some shout outs to Shannon and people that came in late. David, Andrea, Robert Brooker, Billy, all of you guys. I love you very, very much. Farhana, it was great to meet you. And Linda, also you as well. So thanks for having me, my love. Thank you for the work that you do in this world. I'm proud of you every single day that I watch you do the work that you do. You were meant for this, and I can't wait to see you get even bigger and influence and ease suffering at an even higher level. So I love you.
Thank you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to that level so I can give more as well. And I'm waiting to hear about our next Unstoppable event, because you had such a great event in February before this all turned into a mess. So I'm just waiting for that, waiting the news. So make sure you let us all know about it.
I for sure will.
I love you, Jason.
I love you too, darling.
You guys, thank you for joining us. Please share this out. Dare to Share with Mistie Layne every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central. And if you have something you're daring to share and want to be a guest on the show, just type the word guest in the subject line and email it to me at mistielayne@mistielayne.com. I love you all. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Ciao. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you.